So this is an article on Autism Speaks, their blog, and Society of Toxicology in March of 2011. These were some scientists from UC Davis talking about the idea that toxins, environmental issues, in animal models, turn genes on or off, sort of the concept we talked about before with respect to expression. A lot of these things are timing, when in process. If you ever have the good fortune of hearing Eric Courchain at UCSD or Karen Pierce, please go see their work. They're incredible. They will discover even more interesting things about the environment, but they talk about head circumference. This is the study from Stanford talking about, it was in July of 2011 in the Archives of General Psychiatry, and it's talking about flame retardants. It talks about parental age, some of those things that I've mentioned throughout. PCBs. Interestingly, air pollution has not been linked in Southern California. I've seen enough, both as a lawyer and now as a psychologist on the expert witness side, enough cases where sort of lead, for example, you know, we didn't think it used to. Cigarettes, the first study said no, and later on, I mean, think about cigarettes. Cigarettes is the best example. The government came out and said, oh, it's not a problem, it's not an issue. How many years later? I have, you know, I'm not rabid about it. Let me be really clear. I have family members who are. I try to buy organic when I can. If I'm going to be eating the skin or the outside, if I'm going to be washing it or peeling it, I tend to not buy organic. Problem with organic is it's so much more expensive for folks. It raises the grocery bill. I'm a big fan of trying to do farmers markets for folks. The problem is that the PCBs, I really think, I've seen enough environmental work. When I was an attorney, I used to represent what used to be Union Carbide. And I've seen some of those studies, things like flea and tick collars causing birth defects in kids. I mean, those and sorts of chemicals, I think probably can turn genes on or off. This is the Bonnie Forest speculation. Okay, let me be really clear about that. The initial data are from some of the studies that are now coming out that flame retardants, PCBs, absolutely there's some link. We don't know what it is, we don't know what the mechanism is. Is it turning genes on and off, or is it the right predisposition and then sort of interaction? We don't know yet.
What
Yeah.
are PCBs in?
Pesticides for you know, things like apple spray, Japanese beetle eradications, those sorts of things. Okay, does everybody feel like they've learned enough on that one? It's an emerging area. You know, if I were going back to school right now, I'd probably get a master's in public health and maybe PhD, because I'd start to look at some of that stuff. I think it's really fascinating.
What about the mercury that was used in the vaccine?
Yeah.
Taken out now.
Yeah, my hunch is mercury in high levels is not good for you.
It's still in the flu vaccine, from what I understand, too.
Yeah, I don't think any individual vaccine probably does it unless you have a real genetic predisposition, would be and not everybody does, and I think it's probably rare. And the research would certainly show that. Mercury's been out of vaccines for so long, it's hard to do that study, and you wouldn't want to do it. But, you know, I think the mercury, they're starting to find them fish at high levels, you know, and where it's occurring. The lead and the zinc that we saw, I just go by my experience with lead, and no amount of lead is good. It's really insidious. And in fact, it mimics calcium in utero. So that if a mom in utero is exposed to lead paint, lead toys, those sorts of things, or lead in the case of the toxic waste dump sites expert witness work I did, the mom's body actually sucks up more because it thinks it's calcium. And you know, that first trimester in pregnancy, when a lot of women don't even know they're pregnant yet, really, really critical for brain development. I'm actually surprised when I teach it that things go right so many times, because it's so intricate. So exposure during that first trimester to, if you're a migrant worker in the fields up in, you know, Orange County and some of the lettuce fields or some of the orange, you know, starting to look at that group for higher levels of cancers and other things, I certainly would be looking, personally.